A very good afternoon, precious people, and welcome to another episode of Through My Kenyan Eye, where today we are going to focus on the life of one of my mentors, a legend, an icon, somebody whom I closely look up to because his story kind of resonates with my own. Now, our society has a tendency of always not celebrating our loved ones while they live with us. Many a times, we wait until a time when they are gone, then we appear in funerals with lengthy conversations and testimonies, as some are usually even false. But here I am today to talk about somebody that I've really looked up to in the industry, in my life as a person. He has mentored me even without knowing he has. His story has touched many, including you that I know you're watching us today from wherever it is that you're sitting. The person we're going to talk about today is a man by the name Felix Odiwuor Otuchi. Felix Odiwuor Otuchi is not just your regular day household name that you hear. Felix Odiwuor Otuchi, aka Jalas, is one of those people who, in the history of the entertainment industry in Kenya, can clearly be said that has revolutionized the entertainment industry, has really uplifted the youth and challenged the youth to think out of their comfort zone and to actually go for what they believe in. Because his life is a testimony that you don't need a godfather to actually reach to your maximum potential. His light is still shining and the sky is the limit. And therefore I hope that as I tell this story from wherever you are, through the eye that I'm going to tell it from, which is my own eye and my own perspective, you're going to be challenged, you're going to be encouraged, and your life will never remain the same. Because the things Felix has gone through to reach where he is today can be a motivation to you seated wherever you are, thinking that you've reached your bottom end and life is very unfair to you, and you think that there's nothing else you can do in this world rather than probably take your life, because the society at the moment is too full of suicides and all that. Now on to our story of today. How did it all begin in the life of Felix Odiwuor Otuchi, aka Jalango himself? Now Jalango was born in the year 1983, in the month of April. The date is 27 to be precise, in a very remote village somewhere in Homa Bay County. He was born to two loving parents, humble peasants, who actually did farming for a living. He was born in a family of four and did his primary school in a school in Homa Bay called Lakeview Primary, whereby he scored 400 marks and above in his KCPE exams out of a possible 700. And in the days when he did his KCPE, there used to be a system where some students would be selected, and as much as they never merited the marks to join other schools, especially the national schools, they would always be picked under a system that was a placement system to join one of the prestigious schools. And he was one of the lucky ones from his region that was actually called up to join the prestigious Maseno school. Now, as fate would have it, and based on the family background and the humility of the homes that he was coming from, they were not able to actually raise the school fee that was required to actually make sure that he joined the prestigious school Maseno High. But out of the resilience of the father, they still had hope that they would be able to join the school. They left home one time when the students were supposed to join, actually did their own funny shopping, arrived at school, and were actually turned away to go back home because they did not come with all the necessary requirements that were needed. But his dad's dream of making sure his son had the best never really died there. What a resilient dad. May God rest his soul in peace. Now Mzee, father to Jalango, actually proceeded and found a slot within another school in Siaya County by the name Barkanyango Secondary in Imbo Nyamonye, where Jalango actually joined some weeks later once others had joined, and actually appeared there within or dressed in the Maseno uniform, because that is what they had bought before they were going to Maseno. And actually they didn't have the money to buy another uniform for the Barkanyango school that they were joining. So in his Form 1 first term, his uniform that he joined that school with was actually that one of Maseno School. But that did not deter him from actually focusing on his goals, his studies and all that, to a point, because school fee was hard to come by. Just like it was difficult for them to raise fee for Maseno. His dad once in a while had to make do with coming to school and supplying maize on his bicycle so that school fee would be paid for his son to be in school. You and I know, having gone through the school systems that we've been to, and especially high school, if such a thing happened in our lifetime, you always know the kind of mockery that would make towards such a student. But Felix aka Jalango never saw that as a hindrance. Actually, he saw pure love in the eyes of his father. And the whole man really tried until Jalango completed his high school. Now fast forward, upon completing his high school, he scored an average of C grade. And because that was not sufficient enough to take him to a college under sponsorship or scholarship, he clearly knew in his mind that there was no way that he was actually going to join any campus. So what did Jalango do with his resilient spirit? He actually went back to Homa Bay and started fishing, or he became a fishmonger. He did that for a period of time, and the most surprising bit is actually that the location of the point where he used to do his fishing apparently happened to be opposite the school that he had actually done his O-level, the primary. You can see that. And I want to believe, because some of the teachers in that school might have been there when he was a pupil, back in the days when he was in primary, maybe, and I'm just saying maybe, they must have used him as an example to the other students, not to end up like him, so that they would aspire more in life more than becoming a fishmonger. But that did not deter his spirit. He proceeded there until later on he joined an organization within Homa Bay that does fishery. And his father, wherever he was, and as I always say, may his soul rest in peace, having known the ambitions that his son had and the wish that he had to join college, one time called him from his fishing business to come join him at home, and actually handed him over 800 shillings with some clothes of his packed, and told him, "My son, you've always said that you wanted to join college or university. Now here is your chance. Take these 800 shillings, together with your things that have already been packed, make a journey to Nairobi." He'd already made arrangements for him to go and stay with some of his relatives in Nairobi. And that was that. So Jalango started his journey of becoming a man. Immediately left home. When he came to Nairobi, he had a passion of acting. So when his uncle would leave for his normal day job, Jalango would find his way to the National Theatre through the help of his uncle once in a while, providing transport and all that. But within the National Theatre, he was able to join a production group that used to act set books under a gentleman by the name Aliwa, which was called Chichofo Production. He did exemplary well during the period that he was actually casted with his crew. And by the time he was exiting the group, actually he was voted as the best Swahili narrator. And he did not stop there. He joined the National Theatre. He featured in several plays, Luos and all the others. And he became friends with the likes of Kina Otoyo. And due to their friendship, they always longed for a time when they would appear in a live TV. So because by this time with the National Theatre, they'd already made friends with one Will Broda, who was also casted in one of the famous television shows that used to run under the mentorship of the late Papa Shirandula, called Papa Shirandula itself. So they would always try to convince the lady to try and talk to Papa Shirandula to find them space in the TV. And one day, as fate would have it, their time came. It so happened that there was an episode where the relatives of Will Broda, or actually to appear on scene, then Will Broda called them and told them that, guys, you know what? Your opportunity has come. It is now time, because somehow I'm to be married. You guys are supposed to come and feature, or they're looking for cast to come and feature as my in-laws. But what better cast to have than the two of you? And that is how they were given a role that they were supposed just to appear in one episode. But out of their conviction and their friendship, Jalango and Otoyo told themselves that actually, you know what? Should we find this opportunity to appear on that screen, let us give it our best to a point that these people will have no otherwise than to maintain us in the cast for the rest of the season. And when that camera rolled down, believe me, ladies and gentlemen, they did a clip that actually everybody was in stitches, from the cameraman to the crew, and Papa Shirandula himself had no otherwise than to ensure he found slots to slot them, because even the fans were demanding for them to be featured more and more and more. As we all know, growing up in my age or in my time, they were the household names that we grew up looking up to for entertainment, and they never disappointed. But Jalango, being Jalango, he never actually settled for the fact that he had already appeared in Papa Shirandula and he was now on our TVs and all that. He had aspired for more. And like he always says, he's usually that character that gets bored when he does something routinely. He likes challenges in his life. So what did he do? At this time he was also featuring in the likes of Churchill Show or Churchill Live, and they'd already made friends with the like of Churchill himself. Then it so happens that at this point, in the year 2004, a vacancy is actually availing itself within Kiss FM or Kiss 100. This was the point when the legendary comedian, the pioneers of the comedy industry in Kenya, by the name Nyambane, was actually exiting Kiss for his own other personal endeavors. And now there was a need for a replacement of somebody of equal caliber, or somebody who is actually even more advanced in that role than him. So Churchill challenged Kina Jalango to go for the interview. Now remember this, by the time Jalango left home for Nairobi all until this time, he has not been able to join campus. Reason being, which you might not know, being in a family of 4, at this point he was actually the one that could almost be described as more stable financially. So he had a burden of taking care of all his other siblings, plus even his dad and mom who were at home. So it was not easy for him to even join campus. So this opportunity came a little bit too early for him, because believe you and me, he did not have the requirements that were needed for this selection panel. But having the spirit that he always has, which is the resilience that I admire the most, Jalango decided upon himself that he was going to give it a try. Because after all, the worst the panel could do was to tell him, sorry, go home because you don't meet the threshold that we are looking for. So the day of the interview came. He appeared on the interview. Being there, he met a very huge number of people that had come seeking for this job. Almost 2,000 people. And believe you me, all of them had degrees in various fields. At this time, Jalango didn't even have a diploma, not to talk about even a degree. He just came because he was Jalango, he himself. So, on a normal setup, the maximum number of interviews that can be done in a day, given that the selection panel, probably the panel is one, is usually around 10 to 15 people maximum. And that way, if it is 15, they've really strained themselves or stretched themselves. So these guys, on seeing that big number, they started to start doing eliminations. And how did they achieve it? The first thing they did is they divided the groups into 2, by stating that all those who had a degree in mass communication and journalism were to step on the other side, and those who did not have a degree in mass communication and journalism were to go to the other side. Jalango, in his mind, his wisdom dictated and told him that because we are in a media station, or the job that is being advertised, the vacancy requires qualifications in mass communication and media. Definitely these guys who've gone here that they have their degree in mass communication and journalism are the ones who are remaining here. The others who've gone on the other side obviously are going home. So let me join these guys with the mass communication degree and journalism, in as much as he didn't have it at the time. And in his mind he was always having that voice that was telling him what is the worst that can happen. These guys cannot rough him up, they cannot beat him. The worst they can tell him is, please go home because you don't have the requirements. But still at this point that he has joined those with mass communication degree and journalism, the number was still big, and the panel had to trim it further to ensure that at the end they had a sizable number that they could actually conduct interviews for. So they come with another criteria to actually do away with them. And now at this point the criteria is, if you have any other degree on top of the mass communication and journalism one, please step on one side, and if you don't, step on the other side. Again, his wisdom telling him that these guys who have another added advantage because they have another degree are the ones these guys are looking for. So what did he do? Instead of joining these guys without, he went again to the side of the guys who actually had the degree, the extra degree that was being asked for. So it went on and on until the panel were able to find their 15 guys to 10 that they actually wanted to interview on that day. And Jalango was amongst them. Keeping in mind, he doesn't even have a degree, but he believes in himself that he has what it takes that those guys are looking for in that position. So the interviews began. He appeared before the panel, and when asked for his papers, he didn't have them. He didn't have them. So at this point, even the panel cannot believe, but they dismay. And they are also impressed at the same time that somebody who did not have all the requirements that they've been asking for, that has taken other members home, actually has appeared before them and is a household name. And because of that resilience, when the interviews were done, actually they decided to pick two of them. Who was he himself, Jalango, and the renowned legend Larry Asego that we know. So the two of them were actually featured with Caroline Mutoko for a period of internship under Kiss in the morning breakfast show, and they did wonders to a point when the time came for the two of them, for a decision to be made between the two of them regarding who is remaining and who is going. Actually, Jalango and Larry Asego were all retained because they did exemplary well. Now, do you see the kind of a life that I'm talking about here? A go-getter, someone who does not fear and sees an opportunity and goes to grab it. Now, that did not stop there. Over his career as a radio presenter and all that, Jalango has had a history in radio that stretches back all the way to 2004 and to date, because currently he's co-hosting the morning show still with a lady known as Kamene Goro, and they're doing well. The show is actually rated #1 countrywide. You get to see that. Different from that, Jalango has had to reinvent himself. He is doing commercials. He is appearing on our billboards. He is a renowned MC for corporate gigs. Jalango is known even for his famous YouTube channel that he has started recently that really has a huge number of following at the moment. He is an influencer in that whatever he touches in himself or he uses himself, actually everybody follows and buys. And that is why corporate organizations are actually coming for him. Fast forward. The saddest point of this whole story is the fact that in the year 2004, on the same day that Jalango actually landed this prestigious job at Kiss FM, unfortunately is the same day that his dad lost his life. May he rest in peace. Jalango has just landed his first paying job at Kiss FM as a presenter. Then on the same day, with mixed feelings of joy and all that, he gets a call from the village that his dad has actually passed on. What a sad day. And he has actually to drop the celebration of having secured that job and rush to the village to go and bury his dad and to condole with other family members. So he takes a break from work, goes home, buries his dad, and one of the things he finds his dad has left behind for him is a letter addressed to him with the following specifications, telling him that, son, it's unfortunate that my life has to come to an end at this time, having not built your mom a home. Kindly note that it is your responsibility now to ensure that you build your mom a home. Number 2, also make sure that your siblings go to school and always take care of the family. Ladies and gentlemen, it would be worth noting that actually Jalango's elder brother had to literally drop out of school for Jalango to complete his schooling at Barkanyango Secondary. What a sacrifice from a brother. And all this while, between the year 2004, when Jalango got his first paying job, all the way to 2020 last year, when he actually graduated or fulfilled his dream of having a degree, because the working class demands it. It took Jalango all that while from 2004 all the way to 2020 last year to graduate, because he had his siblings and he was actually paying school fee for them. He had his brother who had actually dropped out of school because he was to go on, and his sister and his other younger brother. And by this time, he was actually able to have accomplished one of the wishes of his late father by the year 2019, when he managed to throw his mom a very big mansion in their remote village back in Siaya. Well done, bro. You did well. Now fast forward. Throughout the years that Jalango has been in the entertainment industry, and actually in the radio hosting career, it's a span that began from 2004 all the way to currently now, that is co-hosting with Kamene Goro in Kiss FM. He has had the opportunity of working with other legendary characters that we have in our country. The renowned radio and TV host Jeff Koinange at Classic. He has worked with Alex Mwakileo, but to mention but a few. And throughout all these years, Jalango has been able to package himself and to brand himself as a brand. No wonder every corporate organization, whenever they're having a function, would always give their first priority to Jalango to go and MC their functions. All these corporate bodies are looking after Jalango to do the advertisements on their behalf. He's all over in our billboards. His voice is all over in our commercials that we are getting from our radios, television, and even the online platforms. He's a hard-working guy who does his own businesses. He is an influencer on social media. He has established a very stable YouTube channel under his name, under his brand, Jalango, that is equally doing so well. And many youths are looking after him. He has a good heart. We can't count all the number of people that Jalango has actually touched their lives in one way or another, either through organizing fundraising for them when they need, or literally digging into his pocket to sort them out whenever they are stuck in a situation that was within his powers to do. He has lived a good life that is exemplary to people like us coming up in this generation of our period. Indeed, this generation, which is my generation, is blessed to have had one of the mentors in their life like Jalango himself. A true definition of rising from grass to grace. A true definition that you don't need a godfather to make it in this life, but trust in the process, and hard work and discipline pays. And that's why, ladies and gentlemen, without any shadow of a doubt, I believe that anything Jalango sets his mind on wanting to achieve, he always gets it. He always gets it. And it's unfortunate his dad never lived long enough to enjoy the fruits of his son's hard work. But through the help that he's giving to the society and giving to his siblings, it's a true testament to his dad wherever he is, that indeed his son accomplished all that he left him behind to do. And I have all the belief that even his political ambitions of becoming the next member of parliament for Langata constituency will come to pass. Because in everything he has ever touched, he has always been the best. It would be worth noting that all the radio stations he ever worked for, he found them when they were staggering somewhere. But by the time he was leaving, or he has been leaving those posts, they were always at number one. So I believe that because he has set his mind on wanting to assist the people of Langata, because he lives amongst them when he came to Nairobi, he knows them like the back of their hands. He knows their pains, he knows their struggle. He knows every difficulty that they're going through. And for that, I believe that he's going to make a very good member of parliament on their behalf. So ladies and gentlemen, join me in actually celebrating this legend whose light has just begun shining. Zalango, my brother and my mentor, the sky is the limit. Keep on doing the good work and keep on having the good heart that you have. Continue opening doors and God shall continue to bless you. Thank you.